Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Happily Home Cooking, where we're sharing all of our family's favorite recipes with you. Today we are making some absolutely perfect Israeli-style falafels. These have the absolute perfect texture and amazing flavor. Did you know that one key ingredient can make all the difference between delicious, crisp falafels and yucky, mushy ones? Thanks to Tori Avey, I finally understand what the secret is, and I'll be using her recipe, which I've adapted ever so slightly, and I'll show you today just how easy these are to make. To serve with our perfect falafels, we will be whipping up a quick cucumber salad, as well as a delicious, creamy, tzatziki-inspired Greek yogurt sauce. And we'll be serving it all up in some nice, soft, fluffy, homemade pita breads. I will put the link to that recipe video in the description if you would like to make your own. Alright, if you are ready to make the most amazing falafel sandwiches you've ever had, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed to our Happily Home Cooking channel, and come on into the kitchen with me. Let's whip some up. Okay, so our first ingredient is the most important ingredient in this whole recipe. We are using 1 pound of dried garbanzo beans. Do not use canned garbanzo beans, get the dry ones. This is what makes all the difference between a delicious, authentic falafel and a nasty, mushy one. So first thing we want to do is rinse our dried garbanzo beans. I have a medium bowl. I'm going to rinse them with water, take out any ones that don't look good, and then we are going to cover them with about 3 inches of fresh cold water. And then we'll mix in half a teaspoon of baking soda. The baking soda will help soften our garbanzo beans as they soak in the water. And we'll want to let these soak for at least 12 hours, up to 24 hours is fine. So make sure you don't forget to start this the night before you want to make your falafels. We'll pop a lid on and let these sit in the fridge overnight. So the other thing that I like to prep ahead of time is our zesty Greek yogurt sauce. While falafels are traditionally served with a sesame-based tahini sauce, we like to go with a Greek yogurt sauce like you would find on gyros. This is definitely not a traditional tzatziki sauce recipe though. We like to punch this up with lots of extra flavor. So here's our favorite secret sauce recipe. We're going to start with 2/3 of a cup of sour cream, 2/3 of a cup of plain Greek yogurt, 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of dried parsley, 1 teaspoon of your favorite all-purpose seasoning. I'm using Tony's Creole seasoning today. Basically a combination of salt, pepper, cayenne, chili powder, and garlic. 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. Mince it yourself or buy it already minced in a jar. 1 teaspoon of lime juice. Fresh is of course awesome. I'm keeping it easy today and using a bottle. It tastes great either way. And lastly, we'll add some fresh ground black pepper. I'm going to do about 5 grinds or so. If you don't have fresh pepper to grind, no worries, just give it a few shakes of whatever you've got. Now we'll just give this all a quick stir to combine it. And that's how we make our flavorful creamy yogurt sauce. I'll just pop a lid on this and stick it in the fridge until we're ready to assemble our falafel. Okay, so now that our dry garbanzo beans have been soaking in the water overnight, it is time to assemble our falafel mixture. First thing we want to do is strain out the water from our garbanzos. I love using this handy dandy strainer. You just clip it onto the side of your bowl or pot. It works awesome. So I'm going to strain these and give them a quick rinse. Then we're going to toss them into a large food processor to mix them with the rest of our ingredients. My food processor is about 8 cups and it is just barely big enough to handle this entire recipe. So if yours is any smaller than 8 cups, I would recommend doing this in batches. So into our food processor with our garbanzo beans, we are going to add half an onion. I'm just going to give it a quick rough chop. I'm using a large yellow sweet onion today, but this would also be really good with red onions, so any type you have is fine. If you're using a small onion, you can just add the whole thing. Next, we'll add about 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, 1 3/4 teaspoons of sea salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon ground coriander, 2 teaspoons of cumin, a tablespoon of dried parsley flakes, or if you're using fresh parsley, you'd want about 1/4 cup, 1½ tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Now we'll pop the lid on our food processor and start by pulsing this a bit to start to break down all those ingredients. Then we'll grab a rubber spatula and give the sides of our bowl a scrape down just to make sure that everything is getting into the mixture. Then we'll pop our lid back on, and I turn this on low to let it continue processing until it reaches our desired texture. We're looking for somewhere between couscous and quinoa and a paste. I like to leave a fair bit of texture left. The more you break it down closer to a paste, the easier it will be for it all to hold together, but make sure you don't take it so far that you end up making hummus. So now we'll just transfer our falafel mixture to a bowl, and I'll cover it up, and we're just going to pop this back into the fridge to let it rest for an hour or two, let all those flavors marry together. And if you want to do this earlier in the day and leave it in the fridge for longer than an hour or two, that's totally fine too. Now, one of the last things that I like to make before frying up our falafels is our cucumber salad. We really want this to be as fresh as possible. First, we'll dice up 1 large cucumber. My favorite is English cucumbers. For me, they have both the best flavor and texture. Next, we'll add some tomatoes. I like to use cherry or grape tomatoes. And depending on how big they are and how big you like to have the chunks in your salad, I will usually either quarter or even cut these into 1/8. If you have kids who are averse to any of these vegetables we're putting in, I find if you cut them into smaller pieces, it is much harder for them to pick out and they are more likely to eat them. As for how many you do, that's really totally up to your personal preference. I may be doing about 1 pint or so of these little tomatoes. Now next we're going to chop up some red onion. I'm going to do about 1/2 of a red onion, and I like to do my red onion fairly fine. But again, totally up to your personal taste and preference. And now some black olives. We will just give these a slice, and I'm going to use about 1/2 to maybe 2/3 of the can. The rest make a great snack for anyone wandering into the kitchen wondering when dinner's going to be ready. Now to dress our cucumber salad, we're simply going to use the juice of 1 lemon. I like to use a little strainer just to make sure none of our seeds fall into our salad. And then we'll also give this a good drizzle of olive oil. We'll give it a gentle toss to combine, and that is it. Our simple, fresh cucumber salad is ready to top our falafels. We'll cover it up and just keep it chilled until we're ready to serve. Now I just have one last thing to prep. We are going to shred some lettuce for our falafel sandwiches. Romaine hearts are my favorite to use, but you can use your favorite. And this is not something that needs to be done last minute. You can definitely do this prep the day before if you like. I just find it's easiest when I'm doing my prep for my cucumber salad to do this at the same time. Make sure to give it a good wash and you're good to go. All right, the time has come to cook up our delicious falafels. Now, I don't deep fry a lot of things, but falafel is one thing that definitely I think comes out the best when it is fried. So we are going to use about a ½ inch or so of some oil. I'm using canola oil. And I'm going to heat this pan over a medium-high heat. We want our oil to be around 350 degrees. I like to test it by just putting a pinch of our falafel mixture in. When you see it sizzle, you know your oil's ready. For making our falafel balls, I like to use a cookie scoop. I find this to be much easier than trying to form the balls by hand. So make sure you have another spoon or a spatula to help pack it in there really well to help it hold together the best it can. And we'll just go directly from our scoop to the oil. Don't worry if as it drops into the pan, if you see your falafel kind of split a little bit, not a problem. Just let it go as it cooks. It will start to cook together and it will be just fine. And these will cook up very quickly, just a couple minutes each side. I find by the time I get my pan pretty full of falafels, they are about ready to flip. A lot of times when things need to be done in batches like this, I feel like it just takes forever. You feel like you're standing there cooking forever. But that's really not the case here. These cook up super duper fast. We're just looking for a nice golden brown color. When you go to flip them, if they hold together, you'll know they're ready to flip. If they start to break apart, just give it another minute. And don't worry about all the little bits that you see kind of breaking off and floating around in the oil either. When I first started doing this, I thought, oh no, they're going to disintegrate. I'm going to end up with tons of burnt falafel in the oil. It's going to be a mess. But it really is no problem at all, so don't worry about it. Ignore those little bits. Another good tip when you're frying anything really is just to make sure that you don't overcrowd your pan. Not only does it bring down the temperature of your oil, but it also makes things really hard to flip. So leave yourself plenty of space to work. So again, once these are a nice golden brown color on the bottom and are holding together when you start to handle them, they are ready to flip, and just another couple minutes on the other side. And you really don't need a thermometer for frying these. I just kind of eyeball the sizzle of the oil. You should have this nice bit of bubbling going on, but no splattering. Once our falafel are fried to a beautiful golden brown color, we are going to transfer them to a cookie sheet. I'm just going to put them on a paper towel today. You could also use a wire rack if you prefer, and then we'll pop them into the oven to keep them warm while we fry up the rest. Having your falafel on the paper towel or on a cooling rack will help make sure that your falafel don't turn out greasy. And at last, we are ready to assemble our perfect falafel sandwich. We'll start with a warm pita pocket. I am using some pita bread that I have made fresh, and I'll leave a link to that recipe down in the description in case you missed it. Just slice open your pita to reveal the pocket inside. And we'll stuff it with all the goodies that we've assembled. Our shredded lettuce, fresh cucumber salad, our delicious creamy yogurt sauce, and of course, our fresh falafels. These are absolute heaven. Our whole family enjoys them, and I hope yours does too. When you try making this recipe yourself, I hope you'll come back and leave me a comment and let me know how they turned out for you. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video and think these are looking good to you, please leave our video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so you don't miss out on any of our family's future favorite recipe videos. We wish you a wonderful day and happy home cooking!